I have like a discussion planned out today. I've scoured Twitter to find tweets like relating to the discussion about sumeru and representation of sumeru that don't mention leaks. So we're making this happen. So for context on this little sumeru discussion, right? On this little sumeru discussion, I think it is important to give my background and like where I'm coming from. If you can't tell, I'm brown. Yeah, I'm brown. I was born in Nepal. I came to the United States when I was very young, and I have lived most of my life in a very predominantly white setting. And now I attend Yale, which is also like a PWI. It's a predominantly white institution. I've been a brown girl surrounded by white people my entire life, and that is kind of my background on just like race and like where I'm coming from in this discussion. Nepali queen, yo, Nepal represent. I'm going to limit the way I'm approaching this conversation with what we got to see in the little sumeru sneak peek in the last live stream. So that little scene of NPCs, right? I looked real close. I didn't see a single one with tan or dark skin at all. So that is kind of like the basis with which I'm having this discussion, and kind of just talking about like racism in the Genshin community in general. Here's where I'm coming from, right? As a South Asian person, I know that sumeru takes a lot of inspiration from Middle Eastern culture and South Asian culture. It's like kind of like a mix of the two in some way, which is like a whole other topic on its own. But the point is that they are using these cultures like as inspiration. They're taking very much so from the culture in order to create this game, which I think is pretty cool. I love the fact that Genshin is like exploring like all these different countries through these fictional regions, showing off different cultures, showing off different people and ethnicities. I thought that concept was really cool. Like when I started playing Genshin and figured out how like the different nations in Genshin worked in Teva, I love that aspect. I think it really like makes you feel like a traveler. I love that so much. But I do think that if a company is taking from cultures, I think that they have a responsibility to do well by the people that they are taking that culture from. And I do not feel that, based on what I've seen so far, that hoyoverse has done that, and that's kind of where I'm coming from. They did so good with Yunjin showcasing Chinese cultures, and I hope they do the same for sumeru. That's the thing, they put so much effort into showcasing Chinese culture in Liyue, and that was so wonderful, like being able to see Yunjin and like her song and like being introduced to Chinese opera. Like they obviously put a lot of care into showcasing their culture in a way that like really shined a positive light on it to an international audience. So for them to completely disregard that type of effort when it comes to cultures with Black and brown people, I didn't like that. There was like a little bit of backlash when people were criticizing hoyoverse for not having POC and like Mondstadt, Inazuma, and Liyue. And I think to some extent, I was like, okay, you know what? If you're basing like these Genshin nations off of countries that do have some type of like common ethnicity that's not Black or brown people, okay, like it does make sense to an extent. But now that they are creating nations based on like real places that do have brown people, like why are they not there now? I think that there's this weird counter argument that like racism and like forced diversity is like a very Western thing. I don't know where that's coming from, because as someone who's born in Asia, colorism is a very, very ingrained part of many Asian cultures, and that's like not an acceptable reason for it to exist there. And I think that we shouldn't treat something being common as it being acceptable. Hoyoverse is a Chinese company. Unlike Americans, people in Asia don't get offended over shit like this. We don't make a fuss. You people referring to Westerners are the ones that make an issue, and in your ignorance actually end up offending people of that culture. Not every country is America, for fuck's sake. It's like the whole issue with the Ayato outfit before and now assuming every Arab has dark skin. It's kind of sickening the level people go through to tell you, people of said culture, that you're wrong because of their weird Arab fetishization and ignorance. So gross, dude. Y'all, the amount that we have to unpack here. First of all, people in Asia don't get offended over shit like this. I was born in Asia. I am offended that they're taking from my culture and not representing the people who created it. Even like beyond an individualistic scale, for those of you who are familiar with like face bleaching creams, I would say like one of the most like obvious products of colorism in Asia, basically they're just like creams with like very like harmful products to bleach your skin, lighten your skin in order to appear whiter and more beautiful by Asian standards. It's very common in South Asia, in Nepal, where I'm from, in China. I believe in like 2002, there was like this huge like outbreak in Hong Kong because people were using these creams that had like the toxic levels of mercury in it, and it was like actually like causing illness in people, but it was like the price of being beautiful. To say that like this has no real world effect, it has. It's been shown for years and years and years, whether it's through like violence against like people of color or just like dangerous acts like that in the hopes of being whiter and being more beautiful. Like this makes an impact in the real world. And obviously like Genshin Impact on its own is not like the biggest perpetrator of this, but it is kind of perpetrating that by not having people of color in it. It's okay to be racist in my culture. How dare you make me feel bad about my racism? You're insulting my culture. No, you're so right for that. I'm Nepali, right? South Asians, as a culture, we have so much progress to make in terms of like addressing colorism within our own community. There's a lot of anti-blackness within the South Asian community. That is a problem. And just because it is a problem that's rampant within our community doesn't make it okay. It's not racist to like criticize that. Another thing that I saw in response, this like, dear customer, please learn the difference between fantasy and reality. Yours faithfully, Mondstadt General Goods. And this was posted in response to basically the argument is like, oh, this is like a fantasy game. It doesn't need to represent real people or like real ethnicities or cultures. Here's my question. Why is your fantasy a world without dark-skinned people? Why is that your fantasy world? Is that not by definition like white supremacy? Also, a little side note, but I'm tired of people saying that us bringing up skin tone and diversity are political topics. Can I just say, like, my existence, like me being brown and existing is not a political statement. Like, I just exist. And I think that a character being brown is not a political statement. Brown people just exist. At the end of the day, nothing about this is political. Not acknowledging that brown people exist and like actively like hiding them in areas where it makes sense to represent them, that's just like racism. There's like no other way to say it. Also, to like the pale Middle Eastern and South Asians who say like, we exist. We know you exist because that's the only representation we're being given. It's only pale people. Some of the stuff I've seen recently, y'all, it's like a lot. Hang on, let me show you. There's this one tweet. People saying the Sumeru characters are pale because they live in a rainforest is so fucking funny to me. Like, do the fucking trees suck up their melanin via photosynthesis? Like, what the hell do you mean? Like, people are saying, some people are saying that, oh, because Sumeru takes place in like the rainforest, like they're not like getting sun, so that's why they're not tanning. I'm like, how do you think that brown people work? Like, the sun isn't, do they realize that we were born brown? Like, it's not the sun that like tans us permanently. I think that's crazy. I think that's crazy. I know that a lot of people are saying like, oh, because like hoyoverse is a company, like their thing is to make money, right? Like they're a company. Why? Like, why should they care? I like to point you all to a concept I call business ethics and corporate responsibility. Y'all, even gas companies have some standard of ethics that they're supposed to maintain, some standard of like having to protect the environment in some way. As a company that is profiting off of people, they do have a responsibility to respect that culture and the people that they're taking it from. Not the free game can't complain argument. No, that's literally crazy. Like, it's like a company that derives its money from the people. I think that the very base minimum that they can do is represent the people that they are profiting off of. I understand in a capitalist world, the company wants money. They think that this is the best way that they can get money. However, like every company is held to some standard of business ethics and corporate social responsibility. And I think that by not representing the characters and cultures that they are taking from, that they're doing themselves a big disservice in the long run. Just because this game is Chinese doesn't like free it from responsibility to the cultures it's taking from. It doesn't matter where a game is based. They didn't hoyoverse change to hoyoverse to reach. They did. Hoyoverse, they literally rebranded from miHoYo to hoyoverse to reach a more international audience. If you have an international audience, if you are profiting off of an international audience, if you are taking culture and practices and design elements from an international audience, you have a responsibility to that audience. This is more about like the Genshin fan base and community. Trigger warning that this is like racist imagery and blackface. This was posted, I saw this, my blood was boiling, y'all. My blood was actually boiling. Someone thought that this was an okay image to make. Literal blackface. This is actually like such racist caricature. Someone had to go out of their way to make this. I don't know in what fucking universe that someone in the Genshin community thought that this was okay. Again, I would like to take that off my screen because I was so disturbed and disgusted when I saw that. But the fact is, like, I think that this issue is bringing up like this rampant racism in the Genshin Impact community that had been hidden or disguised. People were like waiting on the chance to create that type of thing. I don't even have words to like describe how vile and disgusting that is. I think that like as a community, we have a lot to address. They thought people would agree with them, but the thing is, people do agree with them. It's not just that they think that, oh, like it's fine, like it doesn't matter that there aren't like brown people in this game. It's literally racism. Like, there's no other way to sugarcoat it or any way around it. There are people in our community who actually think like that. I think one big thing that I've also been seeing is people who say, why does this matter? It's just a game. It's not reality. It's a fantasy world. And this is mostly coming from like my own perspective as like a brown person growing up in a primarily like white community my entire life. So this is like a comment I got on a TikTok I made of myself in a Shenhe cosplay a while ago. This actually made me so happy. I assume they were a kid. They were tagging their friend in this cosplay video I made and it's like saying, see, there are brown Genshin cosplayers. And then the other day I got this comment on like a YouTube short saying, hi, I want to say you're so pretty and I hope to see a character based on physical features like you in game. I think it's so cool, especially now that we're close to the Sumeru update. Like, I am almost certain that these are kids that are into media like Genshin and they're into anime and they're into, you know, consuming the same media that everyone else does. It brings them so much joy to see people who look like them, whether they are content creators, whether they're actors in shows that they like, or characters in the games that they like. It makes a difference. Like, I don't know how people can think that representation doesn't matter. And I think that it's like a situation in that light-skinned people, they've been represented in media for a while and very, very well. But I will say, like, as a South Asian person in recent years, I finally started seeing an influx of brown characters on TV, like in games and things. It means so much to the player and they just don't know it. I think that media companies like have a responsibility to this now, especially like it is 2022. They make so much money off of an international audience. I think that this is like the baseline that we should expect. I don't know. I'm very disappointed because I really, really love Genshin Impact. Like, this game has meant so much to me for so long. It's brought me a lot of joy. I'm gonna continue playing it. However, I will do everything that I can personally to hopefully like engender change, which is not spending any money until I do see proper representation in the game, and also emailing. But if anyone is interested, there is an email template if you would like to share your voice to me, Hoyo, email them directly. I do hope, again, the update hasn't come out yet. We have yet to see more previews. This first preview that we saw was very limited. I do hope to see better. I hope to see better. As a fellow Genshin player, I am just like frustrated as well. Like, there's like a lack of things that I can do to change things. Like, I'm just kind of expressing my opinion because I feel like there are pretty few creators talking about this. I'm not criticizing any creators for not talking about it because, one, I think that a lot of it has to do with leak content, which I'm trying my hardest to avoid, y'all. Like, I'm walking on eggshells right now. You know, people whose livelihoods are associated with hoyoverse and their partnership with them, I think it makes sense for them not to like risk criticizing company. No, let's end this on a light note. Let's end this like on a lighter note before we actually start playing some Genshins. I thought this TikTok was so funny. Sumeru characters, to be honest. Yo, I thought this shit was so funny. I think it's kind of fun to meme about it sometimes. Also, I'm sick, not this push-up.
PLS follow and sub to Daisy on YouTube, dollop 1 heart.
I can't do it, y'all.